Welcome to the last session of the day of track one. Hopefully everyone's been enjoying.
Yeah?
Everyone's still awake. I know we've served some good food, and hopefully you've enjoyed that part, and hopefully you've had a chance to come by the solution architecture booth. Mark and I work in the solution architecture team based here in Singapore, so we spend a lot of time out meeting you folks with customers and helping them design workloads, how to run things scalably, securely, resiliently in the cloud. So that's what we do, and we're going to take the next hour and talk to you about some unusual services on the AWS Cloud, I think is the best way. We often talk about enterprises, how really big businesses can use the cloud to scale and to run their workloads. We're going to talk about 3 services this afternoon, which are really suitable for small to medium businesses. This is not to say at all that they are not scalable up to enterprise size, but they're ones that I think are more accessible to small businesses than some of the more, traditional AWS services. So we're going to talk about 3 services this afternoon. And just to put your mind at ease before you think, oh, I have to sit through another whole hour before I get to the free stuff, what this actually is, it's actually 3 short 20-minute presentations back to back. And the best part is that we're going to have a roughly 50-50 split between me talking and Mark actually showing you demos. Now, just to kind of set the stage for Mark's demos, which are going to come later, some of the setup things around these services take some time. So rather than you sitting watching spinning things or we wait 10 minutes for something to complete, we've scripted some and some are going to be live. So it's going to be a mixture of some quick runs through these services and then some demos from Mark. So let's jump straight in. And what sort of things are interesting for cloud for small to medium businesses? Well, IT core services needs for SMBs look pretty familiar. Things like desktops and file sharing and email are really those core services that all businesses need today, but small businesses need them as much as large businesses, and they're often pain points. It's often, you're not really spending time running your business if you're spending time looking after this stuff. And what things are you concerned about when you're running these things? Well, you're probably concerned about things like security. And how easy is it for me to provision? I'm a small to medium business owner. I want to spend my time looking after my customers. I don't want to spend my time looking after servers or IT. And is it going to be durable and available? Is my data safe? Is it secure? Is it going to be there when I need it? And does it help, if I have a small business with some staff, does it help them collaborate and get work done? And really, these days, a lot of work gets done via mobile or tablet. Can these services extend past my laptop or my desktop to be able to support multiple devices? So, jumping straight to it, we're going to talk about 3 Amazon services from Amazon Web Services that support these requirements. So the first one is Amazon Workspaces. The second one is Amazon WorkDocs. And the third one is Amazon WorkMail. Now, Workspaces, what is that? Well, that's virtual desktops running in the AWS Cloud, or if you like, desktop as a service. WorkDocs is collaborative file sharing as a service in the AWS Cloud. And WorkMail is hosted business email and calendaring in the AWS Cloud. So that's going to be today's session. It's going to be roughly 20 minutes on each of these. So let's jump straight in and talk about Amazon Workspaces. Well, first of all, this is going to be really simple for those of you who've used Workspaces before, but I suspect because it's a fairly new service that this might be new to a lot of people in the room. What is Workspaces? Well, it's managed desktop computing service in the AWS Cloud. So it's Windows desktops that run as a service in the cloud, but you can access them from almost anywhere. And so what are some of the features of Amazon Workspaces? Well, the first thing is all of the security, availability, durability that you've been hearing about all day today, and if you've used AWS, you've come to experience, that is built into the Amazon Workspaces service. And it works inside the Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. What does that mean? Well, that means you get to define your networking, you get to define the security rules of your network, and you get to know that these workspaces are running in the same secure network construct that even large businesses, people like Netflix, for example, can take advantage of. You as a small business can now take advantage of that same secure networking construct to run your virtual desktops inside Amazon as part of Amazon Workspaces. It also uses something interesting called PC over IP. Now, PC over IP, we don't want to get too technically confusing today. This is an introductory session, but this is a really important aspect of it. What this is it stands for PC, so computer, if you like, over Internet Protocol, which means computer screens over the Internet. And if you've used some, let's call them first-generation remote desktop tools, things like Remote Desktop Protocol or VNC, you've probably experienced that as soon as your network gets a little bit slow or has a little bit higher latency, then the experience really gets poor. And it usually works well enough to just do basic applications, but as soon as anything becomes graphically intensive, then it got choppy and blocky and it really didn't work very well. Well, PC over IP is some really interesting technology from a company called Teradici. And what it is it's variable bandwidth. So it can adjust its bit rate based on how much bandwidth is available to your client and actually manage the experience so that things continue to work seamlessly. And it even scales up on a fast bandwidth connection to be able to do things like watch videos on your remote desktop. And Mark's going to show us that a little bit later. So Amazon Workspaces supports a variety of clients. Not only can you run it on a Windows or a Mac desktop or laptop, but you can also run it on Android, iOS devices, phones, or tablets. And there's something called a zero client. If you probably remember a few years back, the thin client. This is, if you like, the next generation of the thin client. It's a small box that you put in your desktop, you plug in a keyboard, a monitor, and a mouse, and a network connection, and it goes off and connects to your Amazon Workspaces instance using the PC over IP protocol, but there's really no smarts, if you like, inside this client. So it's really low cost if you want to roll out traditional desktops, and it gives you another option for accessing Workspaces. The next thing, it's actually integrated with the other Amazon Work products. So you'll notice we're going to talk about 3 products that are Workspaces, WorkDocs, WorkMail, and Workspaces is integrated with WorkDocs. So it's also easy to use and easy to provision. How easy is it? Well, I spent a couple hours this past weekend provisioning it for my wife's small business that she works for. They're based in Hong Kong. They have a couple people here in Singapore, and now they're using Workspaces to run some of their small business accounting software here in the cloud in Singapore. It took a couple hours to set up. They're using it, and they think it's fantastic. So, that's how easy it is to set up and provision. And it has some advanced features as well. If you have a little more IT background, perhaps you're a large enough business to have your own Active Directory infrastructure, Workspaces can seamlessly integrate into that, and you can allocate users from your own Active Directory. Not only that, but you've got some imaging and bundling capabilities, where once you install all the software that makes up your standard image, say you might have some imaging software, a particular email client you like, maybe some accounting software, you can pre-install all that on an image, on a workspace, make an image from it, bundle it up to be able to give out kind of a small, medium, or large experience on Workspaces. And that means that the next Workspaces that you roll out to clients is going to be much faster. Also, something that is we've just released is the Workspaces Application Manager. If you've been hearing today about the Amazon Marketplace, where you can buy applications from third parties that are AWS compatible and ready to run, what this is it's a marketplace, but for desktop applications. So you can either choose from a wide variety of third-party desktop applications and then roll them out to your users and groups through the Workspaces Application Manager, or you can actually bundle your own applications and roll them out that way. So now we're seeing not only is it good for small business, but as you get into larger business, if you start to think about rolling out hundreds or thousands of workspaces, things like Workspaces Application Manager are designed to really accelerate that process. Also, you've probably been hearing a lot today in other sessions about the pace at which Amazon innovates. That's not going to stop, and I am very confident that we're going to see even more features on this list in the future. So, with that, we're going to hand over to Mark, and we're going to look at a quick demo of Amazon Workspaces.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Shaun. OK, so let's take a look at just how easy it is to get started with Amazon Workspaces. How easy it is to get started with Amazon Workspaces. Thank you. Yeah, cue the smoke and mirrors. OK, so let's start off with the Amazon console. So when you go to deploy Workspaces, you get a couple of options. You can either choose the quick setup. This will give you a cloud-based directory, which will allow you to deploy your users in. It takes around 20 minutes with very minimal setup. Or you can choose an advanced setup. This is where you get to choose options such as your virtual private cloud and how you want to connect to an existing directory, whether it's an existing Amazon Cloud directory or your own. So what do we do first? Well, first we need to decide on what directory we're going to use. We can either choose the simple directory, so this is an Active Directory compatible Samba 4 environment, which runs inside a VPC, or you can choose a connector, and the connector will link back to your existing AD. Now, just like any other directory setup, we need to provide some details. Okay? We're choosing the simple directory here. So I enter my organization name. I choose the DNS that I will use within my local network, short name, and of course, an administrator password. I'll need that one a little bit later. I also get to choose the Amazon VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, that I will deploy into. And I can also pick the subnets and availability zones within AWS as well. So I'm here in Singapore. I'm going to choose A and B. OK. I've now defined everything that I need to set up my directory. I simply click Create Directory, and it will go around for around 10 to 20 minutes to create a directory service. And obviously, yeah, we don't want you to have to wait this long. So in the, I think the cooking show style, kind of here's one we've prepared earlier. So quick refresh, and there we go. It's available. So once we have a directory, we can then move on to thinking about our actual users, the users who are going to use our workspaces. So I simply go to Launch Workspace. The first thing I need to decide is, what is the directory that I want to use? So I'm going to use the directory that I just created. But interestingly, there's also an option to integrate WorkDocs. So for every single user who is a Workspaces user, they will be allocated 50 gig of WorkDocs storage included in their monthly subscription. OK. Now I have to create the users or add the users. I can do this in a couple of ways. So the first way is I can simply create new users. So if I create a few users here, the second option available to me, though, of course, is, while I'm creating these users, is also searching for my existing Active Directory. Okay? So I don't need to pre-create a user every time I go to use a workspace. I can simply select it from my directory. So I'm creating the users right now. They're being added into my simple directory. They're also automatically added into the Workspaces provisioning queue. And we can see them down here. Now, I don't want to provision all of the desktops right now. So I'm just going to provision user 1 and user 2. And we'll come back for user 3 a little bit later. OK. Next, I need to decide on the type of workspace that I want to give to each of my users. Now, we have a range of different bundles available. A bundle is essentially a collection of pre-installed software along with CPU, memory, and local storage. Now, you can decide, based on your user, which workspace bundle best meets their need. So I'm going to give user 1 a Performance Plus with Office 2013. That's mine. And Shaun, I'm afraid you're going to get the Value Plus with Office 2013. Sorry, boss. OK. So that's it. That's all I need to do to provision the virtual desktops, the workspaces for my users. I simply click Proceed, and the Workspaces service will go away and allocate the resources for me. Now again, this takes 10 to 20 minutes to actually go and provision these virtual desktops inside AWS. But once they're done, you can go and take a look at some additional information. So let's have a look at the information for user number 1. The first thing you'll notice is that a workspace is tied to a user. Every user gets their own workspace deployed inside AWS. Inside your VPC, you can also see the workspace private IP address. So this is an IP address allocated by you in your VPC. Most importantly, though, is the registration code. And we need that registration code in order to access our Workspaces endpoint. So how do we go about that? OK, well, let's take a look at Workspaces for live. So I'm now on my Mac. I think you can probably tell it's a Mac. And I've pre-entered the Workspaces registration code. I should have pre-entered my Workspaces registration code. Bear with me 1 second. See, you can tell it's now live. And the demo gods have, of course, been incredibly bad to us, and my internet connection has now failed. So please bear with me 1 second.
I think we did win the award today for the most complex slides plus demos, so it's inevitable that there may be a delay here and there.
So guys, I apparently have no internet connection. Let me just quickly see if I can get back onto this. Nope, my Wi-Fi has gone south. Bear with me 1 second. I think maybe, Shaun, let's move on to WorkDocs for the time being. And
let's go on and talk about Amazon WorkDocs.
I'll come back
What
to
we'll do
that
is we'll come back and we'll look at Workspaces and WorkDocs together once we have our technology all working here. Unfortunately, things like Wi-Fi connections are not possible to completely put in the cloud yet, so we're relying on a few other dependencies today. So thank you for bearing with us. So let's go talk a little bit about Amazon WorkDocs. So we talked about Workspaces and the need for desktops. Well, once you have a desktop, one of the immediate needs is to just work on files. That's a big part of what we all do, in most daily work these days. And what is Amazon WorkDocs? Well, it's a fully managed, secure file storage and sharing service that is hosted in the AWS Cloud. And when we go through and look at some of the key features of WorkDocs, well, again, and you're going to hear this as a repeating theme, it is secure, it's available, and it's durable. And not only that, but it allows for mobile and web access to these files as well. It has file sync and versioning, and it allows for sharing and feedback. So, if you think of a traditional small business, you might have a file server where everybody has to work on it, but then you have to work on things like backups. Well, because this is file sharing as a service, there's no servers. And so your files are hosted in AWS, and on top of that, they're encrypted. So it's interesting when we go in and look at some of the advanced features. Again, you can integrate this with your users and have it synced with your own Active Directory, so you don't have to re-provision all your users for the file sharing service. You can simply assign as part of your Active Directory. On top of that, if you have highly sensitive files in the cloud, you can have multi-factor authentication, where you don't just rely on a username and password, you rely on username and password and either a hardware or software token that provides a next layer of authentication. Not only that, but you can store your data in whichever AWS region you choose. So that's an important concept with AWS in general. Sometimes people have this misconception around cloud services that with any cloud service, I might not necessarily know where my data is because it's not in a premise that I own. Well, I'm always a little unsure. One of the certainties you have of running in the AWS cloud is you always choose the region you're operating in. You own the data, and once you choose to store data in a specific region, we never move that data to another region without your explicit asking for that to happen and your consent. So that gives, no matter what size of business you are, gives you a lot of certainty. You might be under regulation to say, I must store my data in Singapore. In that case, if you choose to use WorkDocs, for example, and store WorkDocs data based in Singapore, you can be very confident, and we prove it, that your data will not be moved and it resides in Singapore. So that's a really nice feature to make it easy for you to adopt this and know exactly where your data is going to be stored. Not only that, but the data is encrypted, both in transit, using TLS, and at rest. So we encrypt the data as it's stored in the cloud. Not only that, but you can manage the keys. So this is a real powerful feature that allows you to really have confidence that you know where your data is and you know it's protected by encryption. This is, if you think of the typical small business where things are just sitting on a server under a desk and there might not be great physical security wherever that is, you don't know necessarily who's had access, say, to the USB ports on that server, you don't necessarily even know whether the stuff's encrypted on that server. Now you have your data stored in an AWS facility with the same world-class physical and logical security protections that the largest enterprises in the world enjoy. You can now leverage that from your small business. And it's encrypted in transit and at rest, and we version it. So even if you delete a file accidentally, you can roll back to previous versions and get back to your previous file. Not only that, but a lot of the file sharing, let's call them activity that has become popular, you can now leverage that where you can, work on a file on your tablet and then sync it to your laptop. And sync a local copy so that if you're on an airplane, you can sit and work on files offline, and they will sync back up to Workdocs the next time you have an internet connection. So that's a quick run through of AWS Workdocs. How are we doing for our internet connection?
Okay, we're good. The demo gods have now I've appeased them somehow.
Fantastic.
And we have internet again.
What are we into next?
So let's head to Workdocs because I'm going to be using Workspaces anyway. And I can kind of add some stuff in.
Fantastic. So Mark, please take it away, and we're going to look at a quick demo of Amazon Workdocs.
Okay, thank you very much, Shaun. Okay, so firstly, let's check the resolution. Everybody see that at the back, or do we need it a little bit larger? A bit larger. Well, that serves you right for sitting all the way back there, doesn't it? Okay. How's that? Good? Okay. So this is the AWS console again, and we're trying to see what is available for administration inside Workdocs. Well, there's actually not that many options inside the console itself. A couple of important things, though. So the first is the ability to define an administrator. So this is where you would select a user from your existing directory, so this is either your cloud directory or your on-premises Active Directory, who's given the rights to manage your Workdocs environment. So I'm going to keep it simple, and I am going to choose my default administrator. Okay, so that now provides that user with the rights to, I can't type, can I? Administrator. Look good? Okay. So that now provides that user the rights to be able to administer the directory. Okay? So there we go, I can now type. The other option that's available to you here, which is quite interesting, is the ability to manage a multi-factor authentication device. We talked earlier about Workdocs being secure. You can add an additional layer of security in terms of access to Workdocs by integrating with very industry-standard Radius protocol. Okay? So if you have an existing Radius server on-premise, you can integrate Workdocs into that. Or, if you don't, then setting up a free Radius server inside your VPC to integrate with a soft token authentication like Google Authenticator is also possible. Okay, super easy to do. We're not going to do that today, though, because we don't have so much time. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the administration inside Workdocs itself. So I need to log in, firstly, as my Workdocs administrator. My super complex password. Okay, so I've pre-created a folder structure as the administrator for Workdocs. These are essentially my top-level shared folders within my organization. But how do I go about sharing a folder? Well, it's pretty easy. So I have a folder that I've created called Shared. If I go to look at the permissions for Shared, I can see that it's currently owned by the administrator, but nobody else has access. If I want to add permissions, it really is easy as saying share. I simply define who I want to have access. So I've got a group in my organization called Work that contains all members of my domain. I can then decide on the permissions level. So are these people viewers? Essentially, they can only have a read-only view. Are they a contributor? So they have read-write access to this folder. Or are they an owner? So they can actually change permissions, send links, and perform more advanced features. So for these guys, they're going to just be contributors. Now, that's a top-level folder. What if I want to do something which is a little bit further into the directory structure? So my finance team have said, hey, you know what? I'd like every employee to submit their expense reports into a folder inside our share. OK, not a problem. We can simply create a new folder. This will be called Expenses. And we can grant permissions to this folder, and this time I'll use the context menu, again, to a specific group. So this will be going to everybody, and they can contribute to this. It really is as easy as that. And this is not just available to administrators. Any user can share their files, their folders with other users within your organization by using this simple file sharing paradigm. So what are some of the other administration options that we have? So very quickly, the first is you get to define how much storage your users can use inside WorkDocs. Okay? It's based on S3, and S3 has an unlimited amount of capacity available for you. So you could let them have unlimited amounts of storage. But the reality is you probably want to restrict them a little. And you can do this by defining the default quota for new users. You can also define security. Who can send links to documents outside of my organization? Which organizations can they share with? And you can decide who gets to create new users. Is it just the administrators? Or can it also be, the users themselves? Okay, well, this is great from an administration perspective, but what does it really look like? So this is now where I get to go back and I get to try Workspaces. So one thing I wanted to show earlier was the fact that we had a healthy network connection here at the bottom. I'm going to reconnect to my workspace. I entered the authentication code earlier. This is now going to launch my Workspaces session. So this is now running on a Windows machine or a Windows desktop inside an Amazon facility here in Singapore. Okay? We didn't get a chance to see the experience, so let me very quickly show you. So we have a range of applications available. So, how is working with PowerPoint? We spent a lot of time working with PowerPoint these last few weeks trying to do this presentation, as you could have told. Well, you know what? Workspaces is great. It's pretty seamless, and I can move through my applications and I can use them as if I was on a local PC. Actually, you know what? Sometimes it feels better than a normal PC because I'm running on server-based infrastructure running inside a data center.
And, just to jump in, our data centers have a lot of internet bandwidth. And definitely more than your small business's office has. So the speed of downloads and patches and updates to these workspaces is almost instant compared to what you're running over a Wi-Fi connection at home or in your office.
And certainly good enough to run videos. But, our stick men and women here are a little bit simple. We should try and push the envelope a little here. So I'm really interested to know what's going on next door. Thank you for coming to track 1. That's great. But I would love to know how Russell's doing in track 2. So let's just head over to track 2 and take a quick look, shall we? Okay, so far not so exciting. It looks like they might be overrunning. I don't know. Where's somebody? Waiting for this. God, they're letting me down. I was hoping to see somebody running around on stage. Nope. Okay, then we're going to go to plan B. And let's see if we can fire up something a little bit more graphically. Oh, no, we have somebody back. Quick. Who's it? It's Russell. Yep, so there we have Mr. Russell Nash next door presenting, running over a Workspaces machine over a OK internet connection here in Singapore. OK, let's get back to WorkDocs. So how does WorkDocs look? Well, to an end user, they get 2 options how to use WorkDocs. The first option is I can simply use it through a web browser. And I can use a very simple paradigm of folders and uploading files. Now, as you can see, I actually have a shared with me folder, and I've got a couple of folders that have been shared. These are the 2 that I just created. Now, if I want to upload documents, it's very simple for me. So I'm going to upload a document into my shared folder. So I'm going to add content, and I am going to add the 2015 company planning schedule. So that's one way to interact. The other way is through the WorkDocs sync client. So installed on this Workspaces machine is a WorkDocs sync client. It's a piece of software that will install on any Windows device, any Mac device. I believe there's a Linux client as well available. Okay, so you can run it on a range of different devices. You can also use the tablets as well. And what we'll see here, and this is a little bit small, so let me do a Marku special and zoom in a bit. So what you'll see here is that, again, I have a range of folders. And if I go to Shared with Me, I should see that I have a couple of folders that have already been synchronized. Now, as an end user, it's very easy for me to add documents into my WorkDocs. So let me go to my documents and take some documents. Company newsletter and my expenses that I'm working on. Let me go back, and I'm going to create a folder, because these are a work in progress. And I'm going to deposit those files into that folder. So now that I've added these documents, they'll be synchronized into the WorkDocs environment. Now, this will take a few moments, but because they are in a normal folder structure, I can work on them like any other document. So I can simply go to my expenses report, and I can add some additional items. There we go, $20. And I can save them. Now, that save action has created a new version, and that version will automatically be uploaded into WorkDocs as well. So let's go and take a look at WorkDocs and see now what we have. Okay, so I already have a folder that's been created called Work in Progress. And if I go into it, I'll see that I have a couple of files. So the first is, let's take a look at my expense report. Okay, so it's not uploaded the second version quite yet. Oh, no, it has, sorry. I have a $20 taxi receipt. So automatically updated into WorkDocs. The other cool thing about WorkDocs that I really love is the collaboration features. So I'm working on a document right now. It's a company newsletter. And I want to share this with some clients. But I want to make them aware of some things. So I've been reviewing this document, and this doesn't render properly. I can make a comment against this document to share with my colleagues. What I can also do is, I can ask others to provide feedback as well. So I can actually say, you know what, I want to share this with somebody else and get feedback. So for example, I'd like user 2 to provide me feedback on this document. Now, I can do this by setting a deadline or a date by when I expect this to be done by. So I need this reviewed by, let's say, Thursday at 5 p.m. And I can give them a short message. Okay, that's great. The other thing I really like about WorkDocs is it is not just for PCs, for Macs. It can also be used for mobile devices. So if I press the magic red button here, we should switch over to the tablet. Yep, awesome, okay. So let's take a look at WorkDocs on a tablet device. So we have a pre-built client that you can use. And as you can see, it's optimized for tablet device. Let me take a look at this document. I have a tactical marketing plan that somebody's been working on. And I can do the normal tablet-y things of, pinch zoom and quickly scroll through my document. All the normal stuff I'd expect to see. There's some other cool stuff I can do with the mobile application as well. I can decide to take documents offline. So if I want to have a copy of a document with me on my mobile device, but I don't have network connectivity, I can keep a local copy on this machine as well. I can also do the same sharing that I can do on a desktop version. So I'd like to have user 1 to please review this document. Okay, user 1. I won't share any comments with them. Okay, I've now asked user 1 to please become a contributor to this document. Let's see what else we can do on the mobile app. I also get to see documents shared with me. So user 2 has got a whole bunch of folders shared, including the marketing folder and something called company newsletter. What's that? No problem. Let's take a look at awaiting my feedback. There's a document that's waiting for me to comment on it. So I can review it on my tablet device. I can go through and I can go, that doesn't quite look right to me. Let's take a look at this. That's not really the right image. And I can actually make a comment against that and say, no, this is the wrong image. Provide my feedback, and I can give them an overall comment about the document, so all done. And send that back. So this is really how easy it is to make use of WorkDocs on both desktop environments and mobile environments. Okay, I think this is good for WorkDocs. Shall we move on to WorkMail, I think, next?
Fantastic. We're actually running fine for time, so I think we should probably show Workspaces on the tablet as well.
Oh, no. We'll have the... actually, no, you know what? Yeah, we have some time. So you can also run Workspaces on tablet as well. Let me just quickly reconnect. We have the feature inside Workspaces that allows you to save your credentials, so you don't have to keep entering them every single time you get disconnected. So I'm going to quickly try and reconnect to the workspace here. There we go. So I'm actually back on Workspaces inside a mobile device. Again, it becomes a little more interesting for me now. What I'd quite like to do is, if I can go back here, I want to go back to the company newsletter that's been reviewed. And let me quickly zoom out a bit. OK. And let me have a quick look. OK, look, I've got I should have some feedback, hopefully. Oh, no, I need to go back into it. OK, so I can see here that I've got feedback should have been left with it. Let me quickly refresh it. OK, so for some reason, it hasn't synced my feedback quite yet. Oh, no, user 2 left feedback on version 1. I can't see it for some reason. Let me just check feedback. Nope. People, user 2. No, unfortunately not. One other thing I did actually want to show you, though. That's another security feature, which is really nice. You also have the ability to disallow people to download documents. OK? So you can actually come in and you can say, you know what? I want somebody to review this document, but I do not want them necessarily to have access to be able to actually go into that document and download a local copy for themselves. And of course, that can be incredibly useful if you're concerned about making sure that documents are securely stored. But again, Workspaces is available on both desktops and mobile devices. Actually, I have Workspaces installed on my Android TV device at home, so I can sit in my lounge and I can use Workspaces with Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. Just don't tell my girlfriend I do it, OK?
Fantastic. It's worth pointing out that Mark and I use WorkDocs every day, so it goes for big companies like Amazon as well. So can't say enough good things about it at this point. It's really made our life in the office a lot more streamlined in terms of sharing docs back and forth like this. So it's not just theoretical knowledge around how well it works. Let's go ahead. And let's finish. We remember promised sort of 3 20-minute sessions. We're now into the final third, if you like. And it's worth talking about Amazon Work Mail for a few minutes. Now, the first 2 services we talked about, Workspaces and WorkDocs, those are available today to use in Singapore. Work Mail is a little bit newer. We announced it after those other 2. It's available in a preview to use in the US. It's not yet available in Singapore. But if you have a burning need to use it, please come and talk to us afterwards, and we'll be able to share some idea of what that looks like. And so we want to get in and talk about Work Mail, but just please keep in mind we're going to be showing you a preview version that's running in the US when we actually get into the demo. So what is Amazon Work Mail? Well, I think it's super exciting. This is a secure, managed email and calendaring service. Now, Mark and I come from similar backgrounds of running corporate IT for fairly large places before we came to Amazon. And, one of the banes of my existence was looking after large email and messaging installations. The number of countless hours you have of rebuilding mailbox files and resyncing server clusters, it is enormous amounts of undifferentiated heavy lifting for almost any size of email servers. I don't know if that's your experience, Mark, but it certainly is mine.
Hey, I come from a Domino background, so all those exchange problems, nah, I don't have those. No, it's a lot of hassle. And you know what? Running your own email service is just... It's not a good thing.
It's almost the definition of undifferentiated heavy lifting. Your business is never going to beat your competitors because you have the best email system. So, that's why this is so exciting, because again, like the others, this is a service. It's not a server. It's a service that you subscribe to. And again, secure, available, durable. The hallmarks of really every AWS service. But, it's the kind of world-class service that you've come to depend on in other things like EC2 and EBS and S3 is now coming to managed email and calendaring. So it's a managed service. There's no servers to manage. It's quite simply email, calendar, and contacts as you'd be used to. And you know what most people are going to ask? Well, will it work with Outlook? Like for a lot of us, email is synonymous with the Microsoft Outlook client. And yes, it will plug in and be compatible with Outlook, like out of the box, if you like. And on top of Outlook compatible, it will support a webmail client, and you can access it from your tablet or your mobile, iOS, Android, active sync, if you like. So really straightforward, managed email service. You know, on top of that, again, you're going to be able to integrate this with your Active Directory. So you're going to be able to just leverage off your existing AD infrastructure and assign users to Workmail without having to redefine users in another system. Again, you're going to be able to decide where your email is hosted around the world. Now, at the moment, like I said, this is available in the US, but eventually you're going to be able to choose whichever AWS region is closest to you and, you know, situate your mailboxes and your email and calendar data there. And not only that, but the data is encrypted. And because of our key management system, which we announced a few months ago, you actually have full control over the keys that encrypt the data. This is really differentiating. This I think makes Workmail special really among any email service out there, and it's quite exciting. On top of that, it's going to integrate with Workspaces and WorkDocs, so you're going to be able to just send people a link from your email rather than an attachment. It'll have a link to download the file from WorkDocs. So that's a really quick tour through Amazon Workmail. But I think it's going to be more exciting for us to jump in and actually do some fun stuff and have a look at what Workmail actually looks like. You're probably figuring out by now, I actually got the easy part of this. I just have to talk to a few slides. Mark has to make all kinds of technology and, you know, almost live videos work to do this seamless presentation. So Mark definitely got the short end of this stick. Anyways, let's go look at Mark's demo on Workmail.
Okay, thank you very much, Shaun. So let's see how easy it is to get started with Workmail. Okay, so as Shaun has said, Workmail is a pretty interesting service. Guys, could you roll my video, please? That would be awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to the AWS console. I know it's late. So very much like Workspaces, the first option we get is whether we choose a quick setup or a custom setup. Now, we've got an existing directory that we can leverage, so we can choose a custom setup here. So next, we have to select the directory to use. Again, we have a predefined directory, so we can then select that directory. Now the really important part, the encryption key to use. Now I've pre-created an encryption key for this demo, which I'm going to use. Now this is created using the key management service, and you have full control over this key. Okay? All of your content, all of your emails, all of your attachments are stored, encrypted at rest with this key. Okay, that's all of the information you need to provide to start deploying Workmail. And again, this takes around, actually it took around 5 to 10 minutes for me when I deployed it. So you can get it up and running really quite quickly. So once I'm done setting up, the first thing I'm probably going to want to do before I add any users is give myself a decent internet presence. I want to take my existing internet domain and I want to add it to Workmail. Now, we've pre-created you a domain already. So this is your organization at awsapps.com. You can use that if you want, but it's probably better that we add one ourselves. So we simply add a domain. We enter the domain name. So I've been using my demo for aws.com, which incidentally I purchased through the Route 53 domain registration service, which is available. It cost me the princely sum of $10. Okay? Because I use Route 53, okay, verification and setting up the domain is incredibly simple and can be done in the background for you. Okay? So my Workmail environment is now set up and ready to use. Awesome. That is it. Before I get to adding some users, though, let me set this new internet domain as the default. Okay. Moving on. How do I now add users? Well, this is, again, very similar to Workspaces and to WorkDocs. I will simply add a user. I will choose whether this user is going to be a brand new user that I want to create within my directory, and you may have that requirement, or is it somebody that exists in my directory already? So let's go and add an email for user 1 and user 2. So we add them to the provisioning queue, we click next, which is hiding on the bottom, and then we give them their proper short names, okay? So their internet email addresses. So user.1 and user.2. So these email addresses are live, you know, feel free to send emails to them. Okay, great. So before I give users access to these, I probably want to actually control their mobile devices. Now, I've got a highly encrypted email solution or service here. I want to make sure that encryption follows all the way through to the mobile device, okay? So I can actually define a mobile policy, and I can set things like, what is the password policy I expect them to have, you know, how often should it expire, and of course, I can decide I want to ensure I have device decryption enabled as well. So just enable those checkboxes, click Save, and my mobile policy is now available to be deployed. So the next time a mobile device connects, it will simply get that policy. Okay, so let's switch back to the console, please, guys, which is on the... Can you switch back to the Mac, please? Thank you. Also the iPad, one of the two. Okay, my iPad has gone to sleep. So that's setting up Workmail. Well, there's a couple of other things that we can do here. So we might want to add a mailing group. Okay, it's very easy. We just simply go to Groups. We can click Add Group. And we can choose again, do we create a brand new group within the directory, or do we select something that's already defined? So I'm going to actually pick the group that we used earlier, which was the work group. This is because the work group, if I can find it, there we go. The work group contains all members of my organization. Go next. Now I just simply enter the internet-facing address, so I'll handily call this work, and click Enable. Okay, this is now a live email address. So what I need you guys to do now is I need you to get your phones out, and I would like you to please send an email, because I'd like something in my inbox when I go and check it in a second, to the email address work@mydemoforaws.com. I would love to say that there's a prize behind this, and you know, I will give somebody riches beyond their wildest dreams if I pick their email out. I'm not going to.
You get to see your name in lights.
Yeah,
you get
there
to
we
see
go.
your email up on the screen.
And it will, of course, be on YouTube potentially as well. So, okay, everybody done? Awesome. Right, let's go and take a look at what Workmail looks like on the actual clients. So again, let's go back to Workspaces. So. As we mentioned earlier, I have a bundle which includes Office 2013. Obviously, as part of Office 2013, I also get Outlook. So I've actually set up my Outlook clients a little earlier to integrate into Workmail. Now, it's actually pretty easy to use, simply because we set up auto-discovery settings in Route 53. Okay, so when you're setting up your email client for the first time, you don't have to faff around with entering server names. It will simply get it from the DNS. Okay, cool. I appear to have some email. Awesome. Look at all these people. Wow. This is good. Yep, I'm liking this. This is really cool. But of course, Workmail is not just on Outlook, and you can use Outlook and it will synchronize your calendar, it will synchronize your contacts between mobile devices and desktops. We do also have a web interface. Now, how's we doing for time? Okay, let's go quickly into the web interface. Now, as Shaun mentioned, this is a product in preview right now. A lot of things are still in preview, including the web interface. Okay, but just like many other cloud-based email services, you have access via browser, mobile client, and traditional desktop client. And again, you can simply go through and let's pick on somebody who, there we go, let's pick on VJ, an AWS person. Okay, thank you very much, VJ, I'm very much appreciated. And you can use this on a range of different platforms. Just to kind of finish off, quickly go to the mobile device, and I'd like to quickly go back to the pops up, awesome. Okay, let's quickly go back to Workspaces here and reconnect. So you could, of course, simply use your normal email client on your mobile device. Okay, But if you are security conscious, you may want users not to be accessing email on their mobile device. And this is really where you can start to use something like Workspaces to ensure that they can only see email via Workspace. So I'm going to check whether, actually, Shaun, have you sent me any email? That would be quite nice. I'd appreciate that. OK. OK, thanks, Drew. I'm not quite sure what Drew is on. Oh, I don't have anything from Shaun quite yet, though. So let me quickly zoom out. OK, so again, I can still access email on any device using any paradigm that suits me and my organization. And I think the really cool thing, the thing I love about all of these work products from Amazon are how simple and easy they are to get started with. Like I say, Workspaces, secure, reliable, easy to set up, easy to use. Workdocs, again, secure, encryption at rest within the whole Workdocs environment. Easy to use with web interfaces and desktop clients, as well as mobile clients. And of course, work email, which for me, I think the killer feature, as Shaun mentioned, is the encryption. I think having the knowledge that I control the encryption keys behind my email that's used by my company is incredibly empowering. And I look forward to seeing the new features that will come in Workmail in the coming months.
Fantastic. So that pretty much wraps up our presentation. We hope you've enjoyed this kind of lightning round through these products. You're welcome to come chat to us at the Solutions Architecture booth if you want to know more about them. I really like the idea that you can start as a company as small as 1 or 2 people, but yet these products will scale up to thousands of employees eventually if your company grows like that, and you're not going to have to change out for different platforms. The enterprise-grade security, encryption, and scalability of these, yet the simplicity to use for really small companies. So we hope you've enjoyed, and please give Mark a special round of applause for all the work he put into the demos.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.